What is up, everyone? It's Justin Parnell, and I wanted to do something a little bit different today, and that is actually talk about the impending new cards that are coming to Historic Brawl, which is Historic Anthology 7 and Explorer Anthology 3. These are the first buy-at-once anthologies we've had since I've been making Historic Brawl content late last year, so I wanted to take some time to talk about both and how they're going to change the landscape of my most played arena format. And yeah, I said change the landscape because there are some heavy hitters among this group of 50, all of which are going to be legal in Historic Brawl. Each card is either a part of Historic Anthology 7 or Explorer Anthology 3, 25 cards in each. And you can get sets of 4 of either or both of those in the shop for 4,000 gems or 25,000 gold starting on Tuesday, July 18th. Oh, what's that? You don't need 4 copies? That's really great, because you can just craft them with wild cards on October 10th. Yes. So those are your options. You can either spend some in-game gold or gems and get all the cards right away in 4 copies, even though you only need 1, or you can wait a whole 13 weeks. And yeah, that sucks for all of us that play singleton formats, myself included, and it's not something I'm really looking forward to, but I ultimately am going to be purchasing both of these, because I want to make content with the cards, and that's what I'm here to do, to bring to you, is make content about this stuff. So if you don't want to spend, I would recommend voting with your wallet. Don't purchase them, don't spend gold, don't spend gems, just wait until you can spend wild cards. Voting with the wallet, always the most effective thing, but I'm going to do it for you, so if you want to live vicariously through me, then you can watch me play all of these new cards in the next coming weeks. To do that, we're going to be making a classic tier list. Now, keep in mind, we're specifically talking about Historic Brawl, so color identity definitely matters, and it's going to have an effect on how I rank some of these cards. And ultimately, this is how I plan to break down each card. S tier is Game Changer. These cards are going to have an impact on the format day one and affect how people build decks. Tier A is Format Staple. These cards are going to be played a ton and have multi-archetype functionality with minimal downside. B tier is High Use. These cards will see a decent amount of play, but aren't general enough to have an effect to see play in every single deck, but they're still going to be excellent choices for decks with fewer colors. C tier is Niche Use. These cards are only going to make it into specific decks, but are solid in a small number of decks or archetypes. D tier is below replacement level. These cards are similar versions of other cards, but just worse. You'd really only play this if you're trying to go deep on a specific effect. And tier F is unplayable. These cards are only going to be played by me when I'm overestimating my abilities at deck building. Fortunately, no F tier cards in this list, spoiler alert. And the reason that I've named these tiers as I have is because there's already thousands and thousands of cards available to us as Historic Brawl players, so unless you're specifically building decks for the Hell Queue of 4 and 5 color decks, there's already a lot of existing options for you in whatever deck you're playing in the format. So let's start with the 25 cards in Explorer Anthology first. Right out of the gate, we have a certified Game Changer in Cyclonic Rift. River's Rebuke is one of the most powerful blue cards in Historic Brawl, and Cyclonic Rift is better, just better. While the difference between 6 and 7 mana is definitely notable, the fact that this Rift is an instant is so much of a bigger deal from the jump of 6 to 7. Expect to see this everywhere and lose pretty much every game when it's cast against you. Abbot of Carol Keep and Shrapnel Blast are both niche use. Abbot will mostly stick with mono red and probably be a pretty good card there. Shrapnel Blast has a mega high ceiling, but is limited to specifically red artifact-based decks only. Sylvan Scrying will definitely get high use. It doesn't ramp you, but finding any land you want for 2 mana will see a lot of play from mono green to 5 color decks. Eidolon of Blossoms and World-Spied Worm are niche use, going into enchantment decks and decks where you don't intend to cast the card, respectively. Both are some of the better cards for their archetypes that they're getting, but they're just additional support rather than making new decks that didn't really exist before. Both really powerful, you're going to see a bunch of them, but it's going to be limited to decks that only care about those specific types of things. Court of Calling is the most powerful Convoke spell in Magic that doesn't specifically depict a walking cemetery, and at worst is a format staple. I think this one is just shy of a game changer for me. I could be wrong. So even though this is going to go in the vast majority of green heavy decks and creature heavy decks going forward, it's just not quite there. It doesn't make a seismic impact like some of the other game changers we have, but this is one of the cards I'm most excited for. Judge's Familiar, sadly, is below replacement level. It's the super silly hybrid rule that is really knocking this card down, because it means that it's limited to decks with both white and blue rather than either, which is how Magic actually works. I love this card. I just really get to add it to my decks and have it on turn 1 even less, but unfortunately, because of the hybrid rule, that's not really going to change here. All 5 of the enemy charms from Turn of Ravnica block are niche use, even if Izzet Charm is the best and Gruul Charm is the worst. Okay, Gruul Charm probably is a little bit worse. That's probably below replacement level. 2 colors, small effects, and lots of multicolor competition for all 5. Voice of Resurgence is definitely high use, and we'll see play in virtually every green and white deck from here forward. I would expect it to show up in more than that and really annoy the crap out of me when I try to cast a removal spell on my opponent's turn and forget about its stupid ability just like I did 10 years ago, but you know what? The more things change, right? Deathrite Shaman, aka Dr. S, is also high use because legally and emotionally, I can't put this card in the next rank down. I just love it. I love it too much. I just want to be honest. A lack of fetch lands really hurts this card, bursts its bubble a little bit, and being hybrid, again, is a knock rather than a boon. Look, just read between the lines on this one, okay? Obsidat. This is a niche use card, but that's just in the 99. As a commander, I think this is going to be a format staple, and the reason is it's going to bring an entirely new archetype with it to the command zone, and no doubt I will absolutely be featuring them on this channel very soon. Omnath, Locus of Rage, is going to be high use both in the command zone and in the 99. Lands and elemental decks are very excited to have this one. Xenagos, God of Revels, is without a doubt a format staple both in the command zone and in the 99. This is an auto-include any deck that has green and red and wants to kill your opponent fast, which is pretty much all of them, right? A Quarter Shield. This is a much maligned card, but it's still going to see niche use in every single equipment-based deck. A zero-cost equipment is still good, regardless of the rest of the text box. Not a lot of decks want this, but the ones that do are thrilled to have it. The Group of 5, Canopy Vista, Cinder Glade, Smoldering Marsh, Sunken Hollow, Prairie Stream, these are all high use. I'm grabbing these every time I play a 2-color deck, some 3-color decks, but never 4 or more. They're good, and I'm glad they exist, but Arena doesn't have enough things that care about basic land types to really make these shine. If that changes, so will the ranking of these cards. Thespian Stage is also niche use. There's a lot of little clever tricks with Thespian Stage, but the best one, Field of the Dead, is banned in the format, so the next best thing you got is probably Lotus Field. And that's certainly legal, but it's not going to cause any decks that weren't already playing it to pick it up and try to fit that combo in. That's 25 cards down from Explorer Anthology 3, so now let's move on to Historic Anthology 7. Starting off with a bang, or 5 bangs. Bang, 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 bang. All 5 Titans, Sun Titan, Frost Titan, Grave Titan, Inferno Titan, Primeval Titan, are going to be format staples, pure and simple. I think the best ones are just shy of game changers, but every single one of these Titans will be coming to a game or deck, hopefully, near you very, very soon and often. And since we're ranking things and people need something to complain about in the comments, here is my ranking of the 5 Titans from best to worst in Historic Brawl with absolutely no additional context. Giver of Runes is going to see high use and is going to be crazy annoying. She's not quite Mother Room, since you can at least point removal at the Giver without fail, but having this card and Skrelv around is going to get old real quick. Repeal is just high use, but very near and dear to my heart. This is one of the best cards at KOing a token in any format, really, and it plays well with the small threats of the format, as the more cards we get, the more mana cards for creatures on average go down. Vendilion Click is going to see high use in the 99 and lives in the you didn't get enough love in your childhood from your parents' tier as a commander. Not everyone remembers the tiny leaders and dreadful Vendilion summer of 2014, but I do. I still do. It haunts me. Echoing Decay is only going to see niche use, but it should see high use as it's one of the best token sweepers that exists at 2 mana, instant speed. It's not going to. It's not going to because, you know, it's an obscure-ish card and people don't like to try stuff. And it says the term same name on it. People are going to say, oh, we're playing a singleton format, but it's really good at killing tokens. So it should see more play, but it won't. Niche use, not high use, but you can be one of the smart ones. Put it in your decks. Unearth is a banger and should see high use. It probably won't, but maybe people will catch on. People don't really play enough recommission effects. That's a really great card, and Unearth is the best of those. It's the best of the bunch, and hopefully this card existing in Historic Brawl will change opinions on those type of cards. Bloodghast. This is definitely a format staple, and honestly, probably closer to a game changer than it is the next tier down. This is going to see play in every single deck that wants to sacrifice a creature even one time. The reason this really gets the format staple rank is because, for me, I think people are going to start including sacrifice effects in their lands decks just to abuse Bloodghast. It's that powerful. And they should. They really should. Moving the needle on deck construction beyond just adding the card itself qualifies it for this rank on that alone. Tribal Flames obviously needs use, while Wild Cattle is probably below replacement level, I'm sad to say. They are going to both go in domain-style decks, just Flames is much better at what it does than the Cattle. We've come a long way since the Cattle was banned in Modern. Acidic Slime will definitely see high use, even if time has passed it by somewhat. The flexibility with Blink decks, being a creature, hitting lands, will put it into a lot of decks, especially once folks start seeing its flexibility and more likely start getting blown out by the early adopters. Tooth and Nail. This is our only other card on either list to be a certified game changer. There's absolutely no question. This is right up there with Cyclonic Rift. And it's exactly what it should be. Can you think of a 2-card creature combo that you hate? Great. Well, Tooth and Nail loves those creatures. Loves them. How about 2 classic Praetors like Vorinclex and Jin-Gitaxias? Great. How about Hornet Queen and Craterhoof Behemoth? How about Scholar of the Trove and something else? I don't know, something real annoying. This is going to end games when it's cast so often. And honestly, I probably expect to hate this card as much as a Murder's Ultimatum within a week, but it's much easier to cast. This is definitely a game changer. It's very powerful, but it's not going to... It's going to bring more unfun than fun, unfortunately. Bloodbraid Elf is finally on Arena, and for better or worse, I can only give it a high use rank. Aggressive Gruul-based decks will love it, and that's about it. That's a wide swath of decks, though, but you need to hit both of those marks to consider the Elf, so that's as high as I can reasonably rank it. Mortar Pod will see just niche use, since we already have similar cards, though this being colorless is a step up and a step in the right direction. Both Worn Power Stone and Wayfarer's Bauble will be format staples, no question, as they both represent premium ramping cards for any deck, not just green. Worn Power Stone in particular is a really big deal because Palladium Mirror is often such a risky play on turn 3 when you really want to do it. In the face of removal, it's often not worth it. While Power Stone is much harder to deal with, and in this new Titan-filled world, going from 3 mana to 6 mana on turn 4 is going to be a really big deal. Because again, you really want to play those Titans as quickly as you possibly can. And now for what I anticipate to be my most controversial selection, Sword of Fire and Ice. This is going to be high use and nothing more. And if I really wanted to get comments, I'd call it niche use, and it's close to niche. It's close. But it is better than the swords we have access to on Arena, so barely I'll bump it a level. Barely. Look, the reality is the swords don't see much play because they take a lot of resources to get going, and you need to lean on that protection to be the world beaters that these cards were a decade plus ago. Sure, every now and then your sword lines up with your opponent's deck colors and you smash the crap out of them, but the rest of the time, they're kind of piddly. So sword lovers, take your high use rank and like. And the last group of cards are the Modern Horizons lands: Fiery Islet, Sunbaked Canyon, Nurturing Peatland, Silent Clearing, and Waterlogged Grove. These are all great and going to be high use for a long time. Notably, the green ones in this cycle are much better than the other ones, but it doesn't really move the needle. They will definitely see more play, but it's only by virtue of, you know, being able to be played in green decks, because you still have to have either black or blue to have these. But it's tough for a 2-color land to be in the format staple range, even though these are excellent for short. And that's a whopping 50 new cards that are coming to a Historic Brawl format near you, and almost all of them are going to see play. Okay, sorry, not Judges Familiar Wild Cattle, but, you know. It's pretty clear that Historic Anthology is going to have a bigger impact between the two, so if you're deciding between one, you're going to get more mileage out of Historic Anthology, but Explorer Anthology still has some great stuff in it. And before we go, what I want you to let me know in the comments is, what of my assessments did you disagree with the most? What card were you just like, oh, Justin's such an idiot? Was I too soft on Deathrite Shaman? Was too hard on Sword of Fire and Ice? Do you think Wild Nacatl is going to come back and be banned in another format after over 10 years? Let me know. Let me know in the comments where I went wrong. Thank you all so much for watching, and please subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed today's content, and please let me know if you enjoyed this type of video, and if you do, I might be able to do more in the future. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Justin Parnell. We'll see you next time.